Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to my channel. So today, July 17th, 2024 marks the 10th anniversary of yet another loss for Malaysia Airlines. This time it is MH17, happened on this same day back in 2014, where 283 passengers plus 15 crew members lost their lives when a Russian-made Buk M2 surface-to-air missile intercepted this 777 at eastern Ukraine. Now, based on the investigations and also the data which we have gathered, so we are going to share a step-by-step situation, what actually happened to this Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, which within a span of 4 months after yet another Malaysia Airlines flight MH370, which was disappeared back on March 2014, carrying with 289 passengers who are on board. And I also published that video. You can check that in the description box as well. So without further ado, let's get a deep dive into what actually happened for Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. So let's get started right away. Alright guys, so right on your screen is the Malaysia Airlines Boeing 777-200ER, registered as 9 Mike Romeo Delta. So this aircraft serial number is 28114, and its first flight took place on the same date, 17 July 1997, and it was delivered to Malaysia Airlines on 29th September 1997. And its age is near 17.5 years old. So this aircraft, the 777-200ER, is powered by Rolls-Royce Trent 800 with a thrust range between 75,000 to 80,000 pounds of force. And when it comes to the livery of this Malaysia Airlines, you must have noticed at the introduction section where I have showcased the freedom of space livery of Malaysia Airlines 777. That livery was actually used in this airframe, 9 Mike Romeo Delta. And personally for me, I really loved that livery, which looks very sportier and very attractive as well, compared to this very classic Malaysian airline colors. But yeah, it still looks very classic and retro livery as well indeed. So coming to the flight crew of Malaysia Airlines flight MH17, we start with Captain 1 Amran 1 Hussein. He is 49 years old and he has a good flight experience of 13,239 hours, and also operated Boeing 777s with 7,989 hours. Followed by Captain Eugene Chojing Long. He is 44 years old and he is also a very good experienced pilot with 12,385 hours, and also operated 777 with 7,303 hours as well. Next comes the first officer Ahmad Hakimi Hanapi. He is 29 years old and he has a very good experience on 3,190 flight hours, and also operated 777 with 227 hours. Actually, he is the second youngest crew operating in flight MH17. And last but not the least, we have Muhammad Firdaus Abdul Rahim. He is the youngest crew operating this flight MH17 with a very good experience of 4,058 flight hours, and also operated 777 with 296 hours. So overall, the flight crew are very well experienced operating from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur as well. Alright guys, so right on your screen is the chain of events, what actually happened to Malaysia Airlines flight MH17. So it was an early afternoon on July 17, 2014, where Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 departed from Amsterdam Schiphol Airport, carrying 283 passengers plus 15 crew members, heading towards Kuala Lumpur International Airport in Malaysia. So among 283 passengers, majority of them were 193 passengers from Netherlands, 43 passengers from Malaysians, 27 passengers from Australians, and 10 passengers from UK. So the flight path from Amsterdam Schiphol to Malaysia's Kuala Lumpur are regular flight paths used by other airlines, and this flight path would actually passes through the countries like Germany, Poland, and Ukraine. Right. So on the top of your screen is the Malaysia Airlines Flight MH17 passing through to the eastern Ukrainian airspace. So this aircraft was passing through the airway lane called Lima 980. So within the airway lane, there are four checkpoints. One is checkpoint Peket, checkpoint Tagan, Gandra, and Tamak. So MH17 already passed checkpoint Peket. So as they were closing towards checkpoints Tagan and Gandra, their radars were intercepted with thunderstorm activity. So the pilots decided to contact ATC requesting to divert its route and following its parallel lane with Lima 980 to prevent from entering into the thunderstorm activity. So the ATC granted its permission to proceed a little left bank and following the flight path 330, going parallelly with the checkpoints Tagan and Gandra. And also they directly proceeded to waypoint Romeo November Delta, which is located in the Russian airspace. So as the flight was cruising at flight level 330 at the eastern Ukrainian airspace, down the ground, there's been an armed conflict building up between the Ukrainian forces and the armed separatist groups at Donetsk region in eastern Ukraine. So as a result, the airspace was restricted at lower altitudes, and also MH17 was not only the airline following that route. There were two other airlines following closest to the MH17 flight path, so which includes Singapore Airlines Flight SQ333, which was bound from Paris to Singapore, and followed by the Air India flight AI113 bound from Delhi to Birmingham. So actually these two flight lanes, they are the closest to the MH17's flight lane near the eastern Ukrainian regions. So exactly at 4:20 p.m., while MH17 was cruising at flight level 330 at Ukrainian restricted airspace, so down the ground, a Russian-made Buk M2 surface-to-air missile system with the NATO nicknamed as SA-11 Gadfi detected this aircraft at flight level 330 and launched a 9M38 SAM system traveling 3 times the speed of sound. So beside me, I have this replica of a Boeing 777. Well, this is 300ER. So assuming this to be as a Boeing 777-200 of Malaysia Flight MH17, and let's assume this pen to be as 9M38 surface-to-air missile. Now, exactly like I said, at 4:20 p.m., the Buk missile system detected this aircraft, launched this 9M38 missile. And if we look at the specifications, if you can see on these figures down below the screens, so it does have an explosive warhead with 2 mantle cores. It contains a mining fragments, which is a bow tie mining fragments. They are all loaded up at the top cone section of this missile. So it is also a radar guided missile, and it can travel up to 80,000 feet just within the range of Malaysia Airlines MH17's altitude at flight level 330. So as this missile was approaching near to flight MH17, what actually happened is the first explosion started up with the release of these mining fragments that has impacted at the cockpit, the left side cockpit section, where there is no chance of survival with such explosion. Then once the first fragments were spread throughout the fuselage, the missile then started up its secondary explosion, which directly cracked up this business class, tearing up the first half of the fuselage completely. So as a result, there's been a severe cabin decompression, and the plane fallen from the sky, and it completely broken into 2 to 3 pieces from the front to the mid section and to the rear section as well. So the result was very catastrophic, and definitely it is very well clear that there will be no survivors. And even if you can see right here in this picture released by Dutch Safety Board, the wreckage has spreaded very wide. One of the main center sections was located at Kharkov in eastern Ukraine, followed by Petropavlivka with the forward section, and the cockpit section was also located at Rozospin. And last but not the least, there were other places of wreckage located near Pelahivka, which is just a bit far away from the main wreckage. So on the right side, you can see what were the recovered plane debris which was found by the Dutch Safety Board. Shows how difficult is to imagine at such brutal explosion. It is very difficult to understand why this plane was shot down. So the investigation began very immediately after this incident, and there were viral footages came through from various news channels. They were publishing, showing the minutes after the impact and showing the footage of one of the armed separatist groups walking towards the wreckage, thinking about that, they might have shot down a Ukrainian transport plane, but rather they later discovered it was a Malaysian passenger jet carrying 283 passengers. So that shows how much shock and awe they have faced in the middle of the battlefield. And it is by far one of the most sensitive areas, even for the investigators to get through to the crash site and examine what exactly happened. So just if you can see in the next section, these are the exact wreckage of what MH17 has found, and the investigation was actually coordinated with the JIT, or called Joint Investigation Team, which is supported by the Dutch investigation board called Dutch Public Prosecution Services and Dutch Police, because like I said, there were 193 passengers are from Dutch nationals, and they're also supported by Australian investigation team, then Belgium, Malaysian and Ukrainian board as well. So if you can look at this 2D representation model, whatever the pieces of the wreckage recovered, they try to replicate the front section of the fuselage of this 777, which you can see right below the screen. And personally to say, this is reminiscent of this incident happened back on this same day, July 17th, where a TWA Flight 800, which is a Boeing 747, disintegrated during mid-flight at New York. But that was not specific to the shutdown incident, but that was a fuel tank got exploded, and first half of the fuselage got broken, and the rest half was flying upwards and then descended down to the ocean floor, leaving no survivors. But the same thing, the NTSB, they reconstructed the whole fuselage based on whatever the wreckage recovered from the river. So that is very challenging task for the investigators to reassemble and get the exact picture of what and how this plane got lost and how this plane was shot down in this case here. So ultimately, it took hardly 4 to 5 years until 2022. The following the trial took place in Dutch court. They declared that Russia was responsible of shooting down this MH17, because although this Buk M2 missile was in fact a Russian-made surface-to-air missile. So later, the Dutch court also took 2 Russians and 1 Ukrainian separatist as accountable, and they were treated as guilty for murdering all 298 passengers. So I think personally to say these shootdowns happens very rarely in this case. But if I can recollect, based on this similarity of the military forces shooting down a civilian jet, you can take an example of Iran Air Flight 655, which was shot down just after taking off from Bandar Abbas airport, where this plane got shot down by a US destroyer called USS Vincennes. They launched two surface-to-air missiles. They misidentified this aircraft to be as an Iranian F-14 Tomcat. So that also led to a sudden loss of casualties. And then followed by another incident, which is also similar to a military intervention, which belongs to Korean Air Flight 007, which is a Boeing 747. So as this Korean Air 007 entered into the Soviet airspace, one of the Soviet pilots intercepted this aircraft, and they believed to be calling them as this is a US military jet surveying the Soviet Union airspace. So that's where the Soviet Union pilot contacted with the command asking them, do we need to shoot this plane down? So they ultimately granted them to shoot down this Korean Air 007. But what they didn't know is that this Korean Air 007 is a passenger jet, but actually it's not a military jet. So that's where, you know, some of these miscommunications also triggers with unexpected devastating casualties like this. So you know, recollecting those, and when I saw this unexpected accident back in 2014, I was literally shocked to imagine that within the span of 4 months, you know, losing another Malaysia Airlines 777 is a huge tragedy for Malaysia, and also the casualties, especially for the Dutch people. Literally, it is a horrible tragedy for this iconic 777. And personally, to me, I really love 777 so much. It has a very good safety records, and there were hardly, you know, 3 to 4 cases, or, you know, mostly from minor to major accidents like the MH370 and MH17. So again, guys, that this 10th anniversary of MH17 is yet another darkest reminders of how to improve its aviation safety, and especially when it comes to any armed conflict zones, how to, you know, tackle such situations, like whether you want to allow this airline to continue its flight path, or, you know, or either you want to divert its flight path, or eventually you can cancel this flight also. So it all depends upon, you know, airline's responsibility and also its proper guidelines to be incorporated as well. But again, like I said, this incident, you know, reflects other airlines to be aware on, you know, while flying at restricted airspace, especially in the armed conflicts. And even, you know, at this year's Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, there is not even a single aircraft flying towards the Ukrainian airspace because of the ongoing missile strikes impacting all over Ukrainian towns, like from Kyiv, Mykolaiv, Odessa, Kharkiv. So there is no chance for any airline to even travel that location because it is very prone to missile interceptions. But this is a one such awareness for airlines to understand how to prevent their planes traveling towards these restricted airspace. So once again, I would like to pay my heartfelt condolences to all passengers, including the Dutch nationals who were perished, and also on this 10th anniversary, we will remember their memorable moments. But ultimately, this is not the end what every loved ones want to. So this is about my tribute video of the 10th anniversary of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH17. So if you like this video, please do like and subscribe to my channel. You can also share your comments about what is your opinion about the MH17 incident. So until then guys, thank you so much for watching this video. We will see you again in the next video. Until then, fast flights and soft landings to you.